He came to measure the windows. Just a routine appointment, 30 minutes, in and out. But I made a mistake that day. I opened the door in a camisole and forgot I was barefoot. Now, he doesn't charge us anymore. Not since he started watching me. My name's Elena. I'm 42, and I've been married to Patrick for going on 18 years. We live in a quiet suburb outside of Milwaukee, the kind of place where the mail always comes by noon and you wave to your neighbors without ever really knowing their names. Patrick's an accountant. Works long hours, keeps the lights on, never forgets to pay the mortgage. And I used to paint. Oils mostly. But somewhere along the line, I started filling grocery lists instead of canvases. Lately, it feels like I live in the walls of our house more than I live in it. I vacuum, I fold, I organize, and I smile on command. Patrick still kisses me goodnight, but it's more out of habit than hunger. That's what gets you, eventually. Not the arguments. The silence. It started with a flyer in the mailbox. Precision windows, free estimates. Patrick circled it with a red pen, left it on the counter. Call them, he said over coffee. We've got drafts in the den again. So I did. He showed up the following Thursday at 11:05 a.m. I remember the time because I'd just taken banana bread out of the oven. I opened the door and there he was, 6 foot something, with paint-dusted jeans and a clipboard in one hand. Hey there, he said, eyes flicking down to my bare feet before coming back up slowly. You Elena? I was in an old camisole and a loose cardigan. Not planned, I swear. But when his eyes lingered just a beat too long, I didn't pull it closed. He said his name was Drew. Late 30s, probably. He had this roughness to him, like he'd just coming off a roof, tan arms, scruff on his jaw, voice like a gravel road. I offered him banana bread. He smiled with just half his mouth. If I eat that, he said, I'm staying longer than I should. I laughed. I shouldn't have. He walked through the house with this quiet confidence, tape measure dangling from his belt, eyes taking in everything, not just the windows. My book's on the end table. The chipped coffee mug I always use. A painting I half finished 5 years ago still leaning against the wall. What's this? He asked, pointing to it. Oh, nothing. I used to paint. He crouched down to look at it. Doesn't look like nothing. Looks like someone saw something worth painting. I didn't know what to say. No one had asked about that in years. While he measured the windows in the den, I stood in the hallway, arms crossed, watching him. He glanced over his shoulder once, caught my eyes. Didn't look away. It became a game I didn't admit I was playing. I'd find little reasons to walk into the room he was in, refill his water, ask about curtain rods. Once, I dropped a pencil on purpose. Each time, I caught him looking. Not in a lewd way, something slower, more curious. Like he was trying to figure me out. The final window was in our bedroom. I hesitated, hand on the doorknob. You okay if I take a look? He asked. I nodded and let him in. The room still smelled like lavender from the sheets I'd changed that morning. Drew paused at the foot of the bed. I watched him take in the room, quiet. He stood at the window, scribbling something down. Then he turned, just slightly. You've got a nice view, he said. I wasn't sure if he meant the backyard, or me. He finished writing, but didn't move. I stood by the dresser, pretending to straighten perfume bottles that didn't need straightening. He looked up at me then, for real. Eyes steady. I'll send the estimate by Monday, he said. Unless you'd rather I bring it by. My heart did this weird, soft jump. I'll be here, I said. He stepped closer, just enough to blur the space between polite and not. His hand brushed the edge of the dresser as he passed. Not an accident. At the door, he paused. You ever start painting again, he said, don't hide it in a hallway. Then he was gone. But Monday came, and he didn't send the estimate. Instead, on Tuesday morning, I opened the front door to find a single sheet of paper on the welcome mat. No envelope. No return address. Just a handwritten estimate and one line at the bottom. I saw something worth watching. The morning after I found the estimate on the mat, I didn't touch it. I left it there, folded once and half soaked from dew. Patrick walked right past it on his way to work, too focused on the numbers scrolling across his phone screen to notice anything as human as handwriting. I waited until the house was quiet. Then I picked it up. His note wasn't signed, but I recognized the messy slant of the W in watching. That word stuck with me. Not the windows. Not the cost. Just that one sentence. I saw something worth watching. I read it 3 times before tucking it into the side drawer of my nightstand, beneath a pair of gloves I hadn't worn in years. That afternoon, I went into the garage, dug out the box marked art stuff, and pulled out a set of paints that had mostly dried in their tubes. I spent 2 hours scraping at hardened pigment like it meant something. And then, just after 4 p.m., a knock. I opened the door slowly. There he was again, Drew. No clipboard this time. No tools. Just a coffee in one hand and a curious smile on his face. "Thought you might want the estimate delivered in person," he said, holding up the cup instead of the paper. "Also, maybe I was hoping to see if you started painting." I could have sent him away. I could have reminded him I was married. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped aside and let him in. He followed me into the kitchen, looking around like everything meant something. And maybe it did. The freshly wiped counters. The lit candle by the sink. The fact that I was wearing a blouse with only 2 buttons fastened. He noticed. But he didn't stare. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table. He placed the coffee between us, untouched. "Didn't think you'd call," he said. "I didn't," I replied. He smiled, slow. "Right." The silence felt thick, heavy, but not uncomfortable. He leaned forward, forearms on the table. "Do you want me to leave?" he asked. I shook my head, too quick. "No." Just that. No explanation. No apology. Outside, it started to rain. He glanced toward the living room. "Can I see it? The painting?" I hesitated, then nodded. I led him down the hallway, barefoot again, heart pounding. We passed the guest room, the bathroom, the door to the office where Patrick kept our tax folders alphabetized. The painting was leaning against the wall where he'd first seen it. He crouched again, the same way he had the first time. But this time, he didn't just look. He reached out and brushed his fingertips over the dry edge of the canvas, like touching it helped him understand something I couldn't say out loud. "You see people," he said. "I don't think anyone's looked at you in a while, but you notice everything." The room felt warmer. Too warm. I stepped back against the wall. He stood. He didn't move toward me. Not at first. He just looked, really looked, the way someone looks when they know they shouldn't. And maybe that's what made me fold. Maybe that's what made me whisper, "I don't even know who I am in this house anymore." He closed the space between us. His hand didn't grab or pull. It hovered there, close, like a question I hadn't answered, warm and still. I let my eyes close, just for a second. And that second was enough to blur the line I'd promised never to cross. His touch didn't undo me. I did. It didn't happen the way I'd always feared it would. There wasn't a lipstick on a collar or a camera hidden in a vase. No angry confrontation, no screaming. It started the next morning with a quiet breakfast and a husband who stared too long at the living room window. "The estimate come yet?" Patrick asked. I blinked. "What?" "For the windows. You said the guy was dropping it off." I swallowed. He did. He sipped his coffee. Then he stood, walked to the kitchen drawer, and pulled out the calculator he always used for double-checking invoices. "I'll take care of it," he said. "I'll call him." My chest went tight. I already scheduled the install. He paused. "Without telling me?" "I didn't think you'd care." He didn't look at me, just stared at the calculator in his hands. That night, he came home later than usual. No explanation. Just the smell of whiskey and something sharp, like fresh air from somewhere I hadn't been. Then, 3 days later, it all came out. I was folding laundry when I heard his voice behind me. Who is he? I turned. His eyes were glassy, but not from tears. "You think I don't notice when you start wearing perfume again? When the laundry schedule shifts by 3 hours?" He tossed something at me. I caught it instinctively. It was the estimate. Drew's handwriting. The note still at the bottom. "I saw something worth watching." Patrick's voice dropped. Did he watch you, Elena? Or did he touch you too? I couldn't speak. My throat was full of truth I hadn't meant to tell. He nodded, slow. Right. Then he did something I didn't expect. He left the room. No yelling, no smashing of plates. Just left. The next morning, I found his ring on the nightstand. A silent, silver end to 18 years. But he hadn't gone far. The week after, I saw him. Downtown. With someone else. Her name was Rachel. She worked at his office. Younger. Polished. The kind of woman who always looked like she had it together. I watched from across the street as he pulled her chair out and laughed at something she said. When he looked up and caught my eye, he didn't flinch. Just raised his glass slightly, like a silent toast. Touché. I never saw Drew again. Maybe he knew it was a line too far. Maybe he had his own regrets folded up in the glove box of his truck. Or maybe I was never what he wanted, just something to look at, like a painting you admire but don't hang. Patrick filed for divorce in silence. No accusations. No alimony. Just division lines and deadlines. The house is mine now. The windows are new. But sometimes, at night, I still look through them and wonder if anyone sees me the way he did in that one suspended moment. And I paint now. Every day. Not because I'm healed. But because the colors don't lie to me. He left the ring. I left everything else.